Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 61. According to the plan of the two, they have actually succeeded. In order to rescue the club members, Shuiwei had to go to defeat the giant hand. Even if she wants to return to Yinger's side now, she is powerless. Facing Shaolin, a wind-type supernatural being, even if she used the fastest combat skills, she couldn't catch up. But things often don't develop according to people's wishes. Just when Shaolin was about to hit Yinger, he who was moving at high speed suddenly saw a gloved hand appearing in front of him, and pressed it on his face mercilessly. How fast he was when he came over, how fast he is going back now. Half of his body is embedded in the tree trunk, and half of his face is covered with ice slag. Although he was already passed out, his whole body was still twitching, and every time he twitched, fluffy things would fall out of his mouth. The sudden change made the students of the Imperial Capital and Ancient Capital University who were in charge of the surrounding realms on February 27 look stunned. It took a while to react and check Shaolin's situation. Such a method, could it be that face-smacking madman from the Devil's City? Seeing Shaolin's injury clearly, a student from Imperial University suddenly took a breath. According to those who have been hurt by a big bit, the feeling of being slapped by Su Ming is very painful. Leaving aside the great power, the key point is that the gauntlets on this guy's hand, one is frozen with ice, and the other is hot with fire. No matter which one he suffers from, the pain is the same. Face-twitching maniac, what kind of son of a bitch made this up for me? Can't you make it sound better? Su Ming appeared next to Yinger, and said with a depressed face, she didn't know why she suddenly had such an ugly nickname. Su Ming, why is he here? Seeing this, the boys from Gouda University changed their expressions immediately, and in a blink of an eye, another giant rock hand appeared. The target was Su Ming, but Shuiwei who wanted to attack the other giant hand. Although he has never confronted Su Ming, it is hard not to pay attention to the shadow of a famous tree. What's more, Su Ming is also a Tier 3 power user now, and now that Shaolin has been abolished, he is only Tier 3 here. If he wants to take the initiative, this hostage cannot be thrown away. Naive, are you really so arrogant that you don't know the basic situation of your opponent in advance? You actually have this idea of taking someone away in front of me. Su Ming snapped his fingers and said. Suddenly 3 figures appeared beside him. Not only the 2 girls who were arrested came over, even Shuiwei who was attacking was also transferred by him. What kind of ability is this? Is it teleportation? Or is what I see just a hallucination? The boy was slightly taken aback, and immediately manipulated the giant hand to clenched, while observing the changes in Su Ming's expression. If it was a hallucination, he would not be able to remain calm. But from the beginning to the end, Su Ming's expression didn't change at all. Instead, he looked at him, as if he was looking at a clown. Damn it, he really transferred people to his side in an instant. What kind of supernatural power is this damn? There are too many of you today, so I won't play with you, let's go. The hostages were lost, and the overall strength was not as good as the other party. The students in the ancient capital made the decision to evacuate without the slightest hesitation. After Su Ming appeared, Shaolin was abolished. If Shuiwei was counted, there would be 2 third-order abilities, and Shuiwei's abilities could be enhanced. When facing Shuiwei alone, he was already very reluctant, and with Su Ming who didn't know any special abilities, even though he was very confident in himself, he was not arrogant enough to face 2 tough opponents alone. Third-order supernatural powers. Go. Do I agree with you to go? Su Ming sneered and said with one hand. The space in front of him was locked immediately, as if invisible big hands pinched everyone. Even Shaolin, who was fainted, was not let go, and the group was arrested like this into the air. It's not that only big hands can catch people. Compared with your combat skills just now, what do you think of my move? Su Ming looked at the students from the ancient capital whose face was starting to turn purple and asked. The palm of his hand was still exerting force. The space is also continuing to exert force on these people. The so-called space force field, this is the correct way to use it, instead of thinking about using such power to create destructiveness. The faces of the students in the ancient capital turned purple. On the one hand, they were suppressed, and on the other hand, they were frightened. He originally wanted to condense rock armor on his body to open the bondage, but he found that there was no way to do it at all. Looking at the nothing around him, he seemed to be filled with something. Even his special ability, there is no way to condense rocks in places without any gaps. Seeing that Su Ming made more than a dozen opponents have no ability to resist with one hand, everyone in Shuiwei who was watching was shocked. Even San Shuiwei, who is also a third-rank San Shuiwei, has only one thought in his mind at the moment: Su Ming, this product is too strong. Be honest. Then let's talk about the business. I saw you two third-tier students teaming up to bully our school's classmates. This is inappropriate, and it's two big men bullying four girls, tisk tisk tisk. It's simply too much. If you don't leave something to compensate, are you embarrassed to leave? Feeling that the resistance has weakened, Su Ming said. There is no way. The third-level power users in the ancient capital are about to pull out their powers from that place, but they still can't exert their effects. What else can they do except give up struggling? Are they forcing others to pinch themselves to death? Although it is said that human life is not allowed in the competition, but if people make themselves disabled, then there is no human life. What do you mean? After their strength became weaker, they could also talk. Hearing Su Ming's words, the man in the ancient capital was a little dumbfounded immediately. This fight is a fight, so why bother to collect things? Don't understand. Then let me put it another way: robbery. I want to leave properly and hand over all the good things on you. Shuiwei, Ying everyone in the ancient capital. 1.5 What a familiar scene. Listening to Su Ming's words, Shuiwei was inexplicably dumbfounded. If I remember correctly, this guy also did such a thing when he first came to school. Damn it, brother, are you taking this too seriously? This is just a competition for freshmen. We can only be regarded as competition like that. Okay. You're not good at this. The faces of the students in the ancient capital turned green, and when they entered the lost world, apart from weapons and equipment, who would carry so much stuff? All the stocks on their bodies were obtained from the ruins. But who would be willing to let them hand over these things? It took a lot of hard work to open the ruins, and it took a lot of effort to get these things. As a result, the competition field has not gone out, and it is gone. This is too sad. Chapter 62. Speaking of which, you are all third tier, and you are also a character in your own school. Why do you only have such a few things? In front of Su Ming, it is useless to resist. They have no storage space, all items are carried with them, either in their pockets or in their backpacks. Since they refused to submit by themselves, Su Ming had to come by himself. But when everyone's things were piled up together, Su Ming was very disappointed. If he didn't have any good things, let's forget about them, and he didn't have many power stones. He was just a bunch of paupers. Damn, you don't think this is too little? We took a lot of effort to get it. Do you know how difficult it is to break through the ruins? The man in the ancient capital glared and said, Su Ming has come all this way, completely using his own abilities to cheat, and naturally he doesn't understand the difficulty of ordinary people exploring the ruins. Not to mention the protection of the entrance of the ruins and the dangers you will face after entering. Even if you arrive inside the ruins without incident, if you want to open the room inside, you will face new difficulties. The 28 rooms in the ruins have different protective measures according to their functions. They are like training rooms and bedrooms. You can easily enter the training room, but it is difficult to enter the bedroom. As for the storage room, needless to say, if there is no way to crack the protective measures, they can only break through violently. But what kind of people are they? A group of students. The highest level is only the third level. It is not easy to break through the relic room violently. Forget it. It's better than nothing. I'll send you away. Seeing that this group of people didn't seem to be able to hide things privately, Su Ming had no choice but to give up, and after a dozen or so slaps were drawn out, the group of people flew away neatly into the distance. I said, what are you still looking at? Get your things quickly. It's you who are being bullied, not me. Su Ming turned his head and saw the girls who were still standing still, and motioned them to put away the things in front of them. After all, his own storage space was almost full. Thank you, but we can't accept these things. This is your trophy. Shuiwei shook her head, but when she saw a pile of power stones coming out with a flick of Su Ming, she immediately shut up. Let you take it. I don't like this. By the way, you are here for the nearby ruins, right? Have you gone in? Su Ming waved his hand and said, then looked at the surrounding environment, and under his spiritual perception, he had already explored the specific location of the ruins. Okay, we did come here for the ruins, but just after confirming that we were already in this place, we were followed by those guys, and we didn't have time to study the entrance of the ruins at all. Shuiwei said helplessly. Looking at Su Ming like this, I am afraid that the past 2 days have been extremely nourishing. Are you sure? You can confirm that the ruins are here. But you can't find the entrance. Su Ming said with some surprise. Without the guidance of a map, most people want to locate the ruins, unless it is the kind of ruins that have nothing hidden, otherwise it is impossible to determine the location of the ruins. Of course, people with spiritual abilities are excluded, but the rarity of spiritual abilities is no less than that of high-level elemental abilities. Taking the 4 people in front of me as an example, Su Ming can be sure that none of them have spiritual abilities. Able. Yes, both Yinger and I have sensed that there should be something useful for ice abilities in the ruins here. We have been attracted since we entered the foreign world. Shuiwei explained that although the reason for this is difficult to explain, even the Alliance has to admit that it is necessary to pay attention to fate on the ruins. Okay, I can't see you people who come in and have a choice of ruins. Since you didn't go in, I will use you. Su Ming curled his lips, thinking that he is the chosen one. This is the chosen one. People have to look at the map and try their luck to find the ruins. As soon as they come in, the ruins invite them. This is the difference. As soon as the words fell, Shuiwei and the others felt dazed for a while, and when they came back to their senses, the scene had already changed. Although she didn't know what happened just now, she could be sure from the fluctuations from the ability that this place should be inside the ruins. The scale of this ruin is pretty good. Judging from my experience in exploring the ruins, there are definitely a lot of good things in it. After looking at the scale of the ruins, Su Ming's eyes couldn't help but brighten up. Only looking at the size of the hall, even the first ruins he explored couldn't compare to this. You entered the ruins, is it all that simple? Hearing Su Ming's words, Shuiwei looked at him with astonishment and asked, exploring the ruins has already gained experience, so I have entered the ruins a lot. This is all a small problem, let's take a quick look at what's in here. Quickly sense, where is the thing that attracts you? Let's go and see what it is first. Su Ming cast a sloppy eye and said that the previous unhappiness was swept away. Although I don't have an invitation from the ruins, I don't need an invitation letter to enter the ruins. In that direction, Yinger spoke, stretched out her finger and pointed to her left front. It was only then that Su Ming noticed that Yinger's supernatural abilities overflowed, and her whole body shone with a light blue light. Come on, let's go. It was a trance again. But after entering this room, even Su Ming's physique could not help but shiver. The temperature inside is extremely low, even lower than the low temperature formed by Shuiwei and Yinger's joint attack before. What came into view was a room made of ice crystals. Not only the walls 590 were made of ice, but also the beds, chairs, and tables inside were all made of ice crystals. My God, what kind of ice is this? After so long, there is no trace of melting at all. Don't tell me that people with high supernatural powers can do such things. Su Ming couldn't help exclaiming, if you want to say that there is a living high-level ice-type supernatural power user who has been using supernatural powers to maintain these ice crystals, he can understand that. But obviously, there are no living people here, so how did these ice crystals survive? You must know the time when this alien world was formed, but it is so long that it cannot be traced back. It's that gem. The reason for the low temperature here is all on that gem. Yinger pointed to a pebble-shaped blue gem on the bedside and said, Su Ming used his mental power to investigate, only to find that the low temperature emitted by that gem could freeze even mental power. I can't afford to provoke you, you two can figure it out. Su Ming immediately lost interest. After all, his ability is not ice type, not to mention that he has no choice but to get it. It doesn't mean much to him. Refrigerator. Instead of wasting here, why don't you see what's in the other rooms? Maybe you can get some for yourself. Chapter 63. When he came to the storage room, Su Ming couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Compared with the things in the previous ruins, although the scale of this ruin is very large, there are very few things in the storage room, except for a few good-looking aliens. Except for energy stone, there are very few metal materials. It seems that the owner of this ruins took all the things here, and left behind some things that have little effect on him. I thought I would return empty-handed, but I finally met someone useful. Moving away the power stone, Su Ming saw an almost familiar metal in a corner. The whole body was silvery white, covered by a layer of ice crystals, but if he sensed it carefully, he could still detect a trace of spatial fluctuations. Obviously, this is the same piece of space attribute metal that Shangguanzhang gave him, but it is smaller in size, but for Su Ming, it is better than nothing. Hey, liquid metal is actually fused with space metal. After tempering, Su Ming just wanted to combine this piece of metal with his previous one, but he was surprised to find that the two metals in his supernatural ability fused together on his own initiative. No wonder I feel that the effect of meditation these days is not ideal. I thought it was because there are too many aliens needed to improve the realm. The relationship problem is on your side. Su Ming suddenly realized that the purpose of putting the materials in the ability is to match the material with the attribute of the ability, so that the forged weapon can match his own ability and exert unsurpassed power. In the process of accumulating supernatural powers, materials will absorb supernatural powers to change themselves, but this is an extremely slow and long process, and generally will not affect the normal cultivation of supernatural power users. However, the fusion of the two metals was not done by Su Ming on his own initiative, but this is a process of forging different weapons, which naturally consumes a lot of power. Since it has already started, let me help. My own special weapon, how can I not participate? Su Ming casually scattered a large number of power stones around to increase the concentration of alien elements in the room. At the same time, he told Shuiwei and others that he had to retreat for a while and asked them to wait in the ruins. After the order was given, he entered into meditation with the assistance of the space plugin, multitasking, mobilizing abilities, chi, blood, and spiritual power to start the forging of different weapons. Although the original alien weapon is a foreign object, if you really want to say it, it is completely a part of the human body, so the more the original alien weapon is related to people, the more suitable it is. Ordinary people only use supernatural powers to assist in casting strange weapons. Although they can also forge strange weapons, it will take a long time to cultivate them in order to deepen the relationship between them. Although they also want to devote all their energies to the casting process of the alien weapon, unfortunately, most people can only think about it. After all, not everyone wants to be like Su Ming, who can cultivate the three together. With the active influx of the three strands of energy, the fusion speed between the metals is accelerated, and the shape also begins to change at the same time. The shape of each original alien weapon is different, and this is not up to the caster to decide. As the most suitable weapon for a supernatural weapon, what kind of alien weapon is depends on the ability of the supernatural person and himself how to use abilities. So when Su Ming saw the fused metal forming a circle, he was a little confused. Although I said that I chose the direction of the control system, but I didn't completely give up the offense. Why is my alien alliance a hula hoop? The origin of space power is a hula hoop. Have you made a mistake? Think about the future battles. With a hula hoop on your head to move the space, you really have as many hot eyes as you want. Fortunately, the shape of the different weapon is still changing. After the regular circle is formed, the two ends of the circle begin to extend, outlining patterns and shapes that Su Ming can't understand, although it has not yet been fully formed. But looking at it, there is a sense of simplicity and solemnity. Soon, the shape and structure of the alien device ended, it looked like a frame, and the middle was still empty. At this time, Su Ming suddenly noticed that his three kinds of energy were being consumed rapidly, and a large amount of liquid metal separated from the frame to fill the gap in the middle. At the same time, strong spatial fluctuations surged on the frame, and every change would absorb a large amount of Su Ming's energy combination. The liquid metal in the frame gradually forms a vortex due to the collision of space fluctuations, and the central point in the middle is like a black hole, absorbing energy wantonly. As Su Ming's physical energy was consumed a lot, the black hole directly began to absorb alien molecules from the outside world without being satisfied, and the power stones placed around Su Ming turned into powder one by one. Su Ming had to suspend meditation first to make up for the consumption of the power stone. Fortunately, he found a lot of these things in the ruins, otherwise he really didn't know what to do. But the black hole seemed to be really full. After replenishing the power stone several times, the speed of absorbing alien molecules did not drop at all. Su Ming simply opened up the storage space. This is a mess. In addition to the power stone, there are many materials found by Su Ming in the storage space. When these materials are exposed to the strange device, they are all taken away with the slight vibration of the frame. The storage space suddenly became much more empty. However, these materials were not decomposed by the black hole, but after being absorbed, they were distributed to the frame, as if they were strengthening the frame, or as if they were applying makeup to themselves. After a moment of effort, the simple and solemn frame has a more dignified flavor. Although it is not gorgeous, it is still much better looking than before. Such a change made Su Ming a little bit dumbfounded. It felt like the aliens also paid attention to their own image. Time passed by every minute and every second, and I don't know how long it has passed. The attraction of the black hole began to decrease until it disappeared completely. This is actually a mirror. Although the central black hole still exists, it expands to fill the entire frame, and it looks like a mirror. But soon Su Ming was relieved. It is not unacceptable to use a mirror to represent space. After all, who can be sure that the mirror is not a so-called space? The space mirror doesn't sound good, so I'll call you the void mirror from now on. The imperial weapon of a big boss in the previous life novel, this force has been improved immediately. Su Ming thought happily, but he didn't want the origin of the alien weapon to be connected with his thoughts. When the 3 words, Void Realm, appeared in his mind, the patterns on the frame twisted and formed 3 words. Although Su Ming didn't, I don't know, but he can understand the meaning of these 3 words, which is the void mirror he thought of. At the same time, the void realm trembled slightly, and a huge amount of energy gushed out from the mirror, instantly replenishing Su Ming's consumption, not only Zhao Hao's supernatural power, but also his blood and spiritual power. Alien organ feeds back. After absorbing so much energy before, it is obviously impossible to completely consume it with the current void mirror, so the extra energy can only be fed back to Su Ming. The void mirror was conceived and born under the energy of Su Ming. The energy extracted by it is naturally the same as that of Su Ming. It does not need Su Ming's secondary purification and can be absorbed directly. Immediately, Su Ming felt extremely relaxed, and the surge of mental power seemed to have completely eliminated the mysterious pressure. At the same time, his supernatural powers and vitality reached the peak level in a very short period of time. It was possible to break through the 4th order shackles in one fell swoop, but Su Ming took the initiative to block it with the void mirror. It is certainly a good thing to advance, but if there are too many surges at once, it is not necessarily a good thing. Although I don't know if it's correct, Su Ming, who has read so many novels, decided it's better to suppress it. Anyway, this energy is still in the void mirror, and it can be used at any time if you want, so there is no rush. Chapter 64. After feeling the power, although it has increased a lot, it is still under his control, and Su Ming is very satisfied with this. Back in the Bingjing bedroom before, Shuiwei and Yinger are still entangled with the gemstone, and it seems that there will be no way to end it for a while. He thought they were the ones waiting for him, but in the end he was done, but they didn't seem to be waking up at all, so they wanted him to wait here. It seems that they have gained a lot. Shuiwei's supernatural power is completely different from before, and Yinger, why do I feel more domineering? Feeling the situation of the 2 women with mental strength, Su Ming couldn't help showing a look of surprise. Shuiwei has dealt with her before, and also tried the other party's supernatural power. She has an A-level, so she is naturally not weak. But at this moment, Shuiwei's ability is more powerful, and the temperature has dropped by more than 1 level. As for Yinger, let alone, outside the ruins, he can still use his mental power to touch the supernatural power. Now he feels that his mental power will be directly frozen, so he dare not touch it at all. Su Ming, you are finally here after 960, can you send us to the lobby first? Just when Su Ming was lamenting the opportunity of the 2 women, an extremely weak voice came, and when he looked back, Su Ming was startled. The other 2 girls hugged each other, their hair was covered with frost, and their bodies were shaking like chaff. I'm sorry. I forgot that you are not ice-type abilities. Sorry. Good guy. I don't know how much time I spent casting the alien weapon. These 2 girls have been here for so long. If I spend a little longer, I'm afraid I will only see 2 ice corpses. He hurriedly brought the 2 girls to the hall. Fortunately, when the void mirror took away the metal material, he didn't like the ordinary metal-like hot pot, otherwise he really didn't know how to comfort the 2 girls now. Shivering from the cold, there is nothing more satisfying than having a hot pot. The 2 girls had a great time eating, and Su Ming also started to clean up the storage space. Looking at the pile of powder in front of him, Su Ming couldn't help sighing. This time he really went back to before liberation overnight. 3/4 of the power stones are gone, and the rest Sifa are some half-baked ability stone. I have to admit that becoming stronger is really a resource-intensive thing. Brother Ao, this is the place where Su Ming attacked us. There are beneficial relics here. They should have entered now. Shaolin, who had frostbite on one side of his face, pointed to the traces of the previous battle and said that there were many people behind him, all of whom were from Imperial University. This guy can really hide. He has been in for several days, and finally there is news about him. The leader said lightly, without any emotion in his eyes, as if nothing could attract his attention. Then what do we do now? Wait here for them to come out? Another person asked, and after looking around, he didn't find the so-called entrance to the ruins. Of course I went directly to find them. The Lost World belongs to our Imperial University, and the relics inside are naturally ours. How can we watch others take it away? What do you say, Aolong? At this time, another group of people came over, only 3 or 5, but it made Shaolin and others a lot nervous. Although he is also a member of the Imperial Capital University, the guy who just spoke is not a good person. Lin Yufei, why are you here too? Aolong with flat eyes asked slightly in surprise. Obviously he couldn't ignore Lin Yufei. Of course I'm here to meet this face-smacking maniac for a while, and give him a surprise by the way. Lin Yufei smiled and said, it was only at this time that everyone saw clearly that among the people he brought, there were 2 people from Shanghai University, Fatty and Shunzi, but there were many slap marks on their faces. It is said that these 2 people have a good relationship with him, so I brought them here. I don't know how he will thank me later. Lin Yufei said with a smile that was not a smile, which made other people feel terrified. Since you're here too, let's go in together. But I want to remind you, that guy's ability is very weird, so pay more attention. As if he didn't see Fatty and the others, Aolong said lightly, as if no one else was in his line of sight except Lin Yufei. Whether he is weird or not, under our destructive attribute, all the bells and whistles are in vain. Aolong, do you have no confidence in your own destructive fire? Lin Yufei said indifferently. A burst of black thunder shot out from the palm of his hand, scaring Shaolin and the others to take several steps back. It's not their fault. The main reason is that the thunder in Lin Yufei's hand is too scary, and even a slight touch may cause serious injuries. Aolong and Lin Yufei are known as the Destroyer Twin Stars of the Imperial Capital University. Although their powers are fire and thunder, they have a special destructive attribute, and their destructive power is astonishing. Any object that comes into contact with their abilities will leave damage. It's just a matter of how much damage is done, the property is destroyed, and there is almost no possibility of immunity. Damn it, Fat Lord, I was almost pretended to be ruined by this kid on the way. When Boss Su comes out, let's see how he continues to pretend. Seeing Lin Yufei's arrogant appearance, the fat man couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth, but he didn't want to affect the injury on his face, so he grinned in pain. Shut up, you. If you didn't publicize our relationship with Boss Su everywhere, would we need to do this? Speaking of which, why didn't you think you were a kid? Shunzi said angrily. If it wasn't for the fat man, they wouldn't be so miserable at all. I don't know that Boss Su's reputation won't work for these people. Based on what I know about Boss Su, he will definitely beat up these people after he comes in. I'm afraid they will treat us politely when they hear Boss Su's name. Yujia is not. The fat man resentfully said. Before, he was used to pretending to be a tiger, but he didn't expect to miss this time, and the end is really not so good. There is no trace of the opening of the ruins here. Didn't they go in? Then we came in vain. After a group of people scattered to search, they found that there was really no trace of the entrance of the ruins, and said quite unexpectedly. Cut. I thought it was so powerful, but it turned out to be a guy who couldn't even open the ruins. I was really looking forward to it. Forget it, here we are. Since there is a ruin here, let's go in and have a look together. Bar. Lin Yufei shook his head disdainfully and said. Thunder surged in his hand, trying to forcibly smash the portal of the ruins. Chapter 65. In an instant, the thunder surged, and the black lightning was like a swimming dragon, tearing the air and rushing forward. Before touching the target, a burnt smell has already spread. Except for Aolong, the others avoided one after another, their bodies surged with supernatural powers, for fear that a little lightning would be stained on their bodies, which shows their fear of the destruction attribute. In fact, the destruction attribute also has many conveniences in this foreign world, and although the entrance is protected, it can only withstand the destruction attribute for a while. Although their destructive attributes are not strong enough now, the destructive characteristics can erase the protection. One time can be repeated, until the relic protection is completely wiped out. With just one blow, the hidden entrance of the ruins was opened. Although it has not been broken, there is no way to hide it. After being struck by my world extermination tribulation lightning, it can still release the brilliance. It seems that this ruin is not simple. Lin Yufei smiled slightly, and a thunderball condensed in the palm of his hand and flew towards the entrance of the ruins. Although the momentum was not as great as the previous move, the power contained in the thunderball was stronger. It's just that when the thunderball was about to land at the entrance of the ruins, the trajectory of the flight suddenly became distorted, as if it was disturbed by something, crooked as if it was about to fall to the ground in the next moment. Hey, space distortion can't completely change the landing point of the thunderball, interesting. Su Ming in the ruins couldn't help but let out a sigh. For a long time, in the face of elemental attacks, space distortion is always invincible. I think this is the first time in this situation. What's going on? How strong is the protection of this ruin? Lin Yufei was also stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to take over the control of Thunderball disappeared in its original position. At the same time, a mountain not far away erupted with thunder, and stones splashed. Who's knocking on the door outside? It's not enough to knock on the door once, so you have to come again. If you eat too much, you're free. Su Ming appeared at the entrance of the ruins, looked at a group of people and said, just after he finished speaking, he saw the miserable appearance of Fatty and Shunzi. Boss Su, hurry, pull us over quickly, I miss you so much. Hearing the sound, the fat man was so excited that he almost cried. If it wasn't for the inconvenient movement caused by the rope tied to his body, he would have turned into a flexible fat ball long ago. The face-smacking maniac. Brother Ao, he is the face-smacking maniac. Shaolin suddenly felt a pain in his face, and yelled at Aolong who had been silent at the side. Fatty, are you beaten up? Not to mention, you are quite cute. Seeing the fat man's bruised nose and swollen face, Su Ming couldn't help but said with a smile. Boss Su. Can you wait and laugh, we are so uncomfortable. Okay, I'll get you two over here first. Seeing the group of people from Shanghai University directly ignoring him chattering here, Aolong is fine, after all his personality is not reserved, but Lin Yufei can't stand it. All of a sudden, thunder flashed, covering all the open space at the entrance of the ruins, and the stones and vegetation of Yinhuang were all blown away. If you want to take hostages from me, do you think it is possible without my consent? Let me tell you, if you want to take them away, unless. Before Lin Yufei could speak harshly, his eyes shrank involuntarily, and he fell silent immediately. What did you say? Su Ming cut the ropes on the fat man and the others with 2 swipes, turned to look at Lin Yufei and asked. How is this possible? The 2 of them were clearly still here just now, why did they go there all of a sudden? Am I dazzled? I didn't even blink. What happened? It's too fast. Even Lin Yufei and the others didn't notice it. What kind of trick is this face-smacking madman? There was a lot of discussion among the subordinates of Imperial University, and they couldn't understand the matter of Gangwang at all. I said, brother, you speak as soon as you speak. Can you stop the thunder? It is easy to be hard to hear. Su Ming said with a speechless face. The thunder was crackling just now. Did he open his mental strength? I really didn't hear what this guy said. Boss Su, he said that if you want to bring us here, you need his consent. The fat man touched his face that was about to turn into a pig's head, gritted his teeth and explained to Su Ming. Su Ming didn't hear clearly, his mental strength is not just for display. Then I'm sorry, in my opinion, they didn't take that hostage as you, so I don't need your consent, and I'm not used to it. Besides, tell me. Why are you bothering me for no reason? I explore the ruins. Su Ming spread his hands and said, the impact of the thunder just now was quite powerful, he was fine inside, but who can guarantee that it won't affect Ying? That conservative power is so strong, if something goes wrong, it will cause a lot of trouble. It seems that there are really 2 brushes. But that's all for now. No matter how wonderful your abilities are, they are useless in the face of absolute power. Lin Yufei came back to his senses, with an arrogant look on his face. Thunder surged in his palm, and a large amount of thunder struck Su Ming in an instant. There is something wrong. Su Ming frowned slightly, and he was about to do it before he said a few words. This person in front of him must be a lunatic. Although he was complaining in his heart, the movement of his hand was not slow. With a single palm push, a space barrier emerged. Under the impact of thunder, it appeared in front of everyone like a piece of glass with water chestnut. This thunder is actually disintegrating the space barrier. There is a way. Although it blocked the opponent's thunder, Su Ming found that every time the lightning flashed, some parts of the space barrier were disintegrated. If it took a long time, the space barrier would not be able to hold on. Boss Su, this is the destructive characteristic. These two are the destructive twin stars of the Imperial University. To a certain extent, their abilities can be called absolute attacks, which can cause destructive blows to any object or energy. Quote, "It is good to have a fat man by his side, at least Su Ming can know the details of the other party at the first time. The world of supernatural powers is really full of wonders. However, although such attributes are powerful, they can't make waves in front of me." Space confinement. The surrounding space immediately hardened, binding everything inside. Not only the body could not move, but even the supernatural powers in the body could not be mobilized. The current space confinement will affect even 8th level supernatural beings like Shangguanzhang, let alone these unlucky children. Fatty, I'll lend you the gloves first. Whoever slaps you on the face, go up and give him 2 slaps. Su Ming threw the glove to Fatty and Shunzi. No matter what these people want to do, let these two take revenge first, and then talk about it. He has always been the one who beats others. How can he let others beat the people around him? If he smokes, he can only smoke it himself. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.